The marriage. The young Prince of Portugal, Joao II, is still waiting to succeed his father. He has many plans for the nation of Portugal. He bravely joined his father in the campaign in Morocco against Arzilia and is ready to become King of Portugal when it's needed. His wife, Eleanor of Visu, sadly died in an accident on a horse while trying to lift it. This left the young king, Joao II, a bit disappointed. He wished to see her again, but now it was not possible. Alfonso V nearly left Portugal bankrupt, and most discoveries were abandoned in Africa. It was not looking fine for the Portuguese Empire after the Castilian Succession War. They had to pay ducats as well. 4 years ago, the Holy Roman Emperor's former husband of Mary I of Burgundy died from illness, leaving Mary alone. Mary never gave up the title of Holy Roman Empress, but disestablished the uncontinued marriage. Alfonso V proposed a royal marriage between his son and Mary to relate the two realms closer to each other. The Holy Roman Empire died of age, which left Mary of Burgundy alone. She accepted the offer to marry the prince in exchange for Portugal paying 200 ducats monthly for 2 years for Burgundy. Alfonso V would try to come up with a plan, taking up more advisors and nobles to help him make Portugal's economy better again. Merchants would go trading across all types of places in the Atlantic. Explorers would also be involved in these endeavors, making money and trade. The crown would slowly recover, but it was not enough. To make it even worse, Portugal was nearly bankrupt. The tribute payment would be over, and Alfonso V would die on the 28th of August, 1481. His son, Joao II, would succeed his throne, and Mary of Burgundy would become Queen of Portugal. As Joao II succeeded Portugal, he also became King of Burgundy by jure 2 years ago, in 1489. The Portuguese economy would do better since both the Kingdom of Burgundy and its counties would allow trade with Portugal. Portugal would start to focus more on seeking trade routes across the world and perhaps settling a few colonies here and there. Mary is pregnant. Joao II would establish a new trading and communication system across his empire. His son would inherit both kingdoms and invent a new system called La Vida Cao. This would benefit, creating governors in many lands. These governors would check the trade, and the La Vida Cao would automatically know better trade routes from another country, gaining as much information as possible. This would benefit both kingdoms. Filipe I was born in 1482. A prince would be born, Infante Filipe I. He would be heir to the Kingdom of Portugal, Algarve, Burgundy, and the Low Countries. Joao, like in our timeline, would improve the economy and bring discovery back on track in Portugal. Joanna of Castile would be furious about Filipe's existence. She hoped for nothing more but failure for Portugal. Dom Filipe I. After his official accession to the throne in 1481, John II took a series of measures to curtail the power of the Portuguese aristocracy and concentrate power on himself. As one example, he deprived the nobles of their right to administer justice on their estates. Immediately, the nobles started to conspire. Mary of Burgundy died in 1482. She should be missed and remembered throughout Portuguese history. However, Joao II would be damaged enough by this. He would start the Portuguese Golden Age and decline the Colombo offer. In 1482, the following year, the Duke of Visu, John's cousin and brother-in-law, was summoned to the palace and stabbed to death by the king himself for suspicion of a new conspiracy. Many other people were executed, murdered, or exiled to Castile, including the Bishop of Evora, who was poisoned in prison. Joao III died in 1495. Filipe I of Portugal succeeded the throne, as he inherited all of Burgundy and Portugal. A great discovery, he would be washed in the riches in America, sending merchants to the Caribbean to make Spain lose money and steal it from them. His relations with Spain would be rather okay. He still had England after all. Filipe I of Portugal would appoint Rosario de Bragança as governor of the Low Countries. He is known for his skills and performance in the Castilian Succession War and campaigns in Morocco. He also fought many battles in Italy, defending Naples. Filipe has known him since he was a young infant. Filipe appointed an explorer named Nuno de Cabo to find a new route across Asia. Going up north to today's Newfoundland, his mission was to find a new passage to reach China. In 1496, he would already be in the Arctic part of Canada, where he discovered new land and called it Terra do Cabo. He then went back to Portugal with his men and survivors, which were over 5,000 men and sailors. For the second expedition, the expedition was fully funded by the Crown of Portugal, having more fur, food, and a better navy, and more men. This means that for every discovery that goes to him, Cabo would be the captain of the expedition once again. He then reached modern-day Alaska, and is regarded as the discoverer of Alaska. He came back with a large amount of money from the king with his sailors and was appointed as head of the North Sea by the Pope, the Empire. By the grace of God, King of Portugal and the Algarves on this side of the seas, and beyond them in Africa, and Lord of Guinea, Duke of Burgundy, Brabant, Flanders, and Luxembourg, Filipe I, King of Portugal and the Algarves, allowed excellent positions to Burgundian nobles. He also allowed Burgundian traders and merchants to trade more freely in the Portuguese zones in Africa. He made an exception for the Burgundian merchants and traders to trade in the Spanish parts of the world, such as Puerto Rico. Burgundian merchants would become quite popular in Europe. Places in the Low Countries like Amsterdam would also become quite richer, not yet as rich as Lisbon, but still considered rich. Filipe accepted and appointed a new governor of the Burgundian country. After Rosario de Braganza retired, he went back to Portugal and continued to live there with his family in Viseu. Most of the Burgundians liked the ruling of their new duke, Filipe I. He even established more churches in the Burgundian states, counties and cities, and allowed Burgundians to settle on the Moroccan coast as well to start a new life there, though coastal raids were still common. He gave more power to the Burgundian nobles. They could travel anywhere in the empire if they had a valid reason, such as serving under the army. Other Burgundian counties and states would also have a few governors appointed by the King of Portugal. Many Burgundians would also participate in slavery of the West Africans and Moors. These slaves would not only be sent to Portugal, but also to Burgundy now. The wealth of these slaves would go to both the slave traders, either Burgundians or Portuguese. 4 years after Nuno de Gabo discovered Terra do Cabo, he discovered a route via the Northwest Passage. During the same year, Bartholomew Dias discovered the Cape and made expeditions and voyages in Congo as well. He came back to Lisbon, where he would later set up another voyage and expedition in Africa. Portuguese nobles and retired generals who used to battle in North Africa tried to encourage the king to expand further in the buffer zone, North Africa. Filipe I, like his ancestors, also had ambitions to expand in North Africa. He had the Reconquista mentality. The young king was only 16 years old. Before that, the kingdoms were being controlled by a close relative to Filipe I as a regent. Filipe I would also improve the infrastructure in Burgundy, similar to Portugal, and build more churches, schools and posts there. Filipe would also improve the navy of Burgundy a bit in the Low Countries. He also spent more on the fortifications in Morocco. By the 1505, in Tanger, Ceuta and Safi, he built more castles in the Maghreb as well, and improved the trading posts and communication there, as the communication in the kingdom was a bit slower than usual. After the discovery of Terra do Cabo, the Pope and the King of Portugal came up with a treaty, which was agreed to by Spain as well, that the territories in the Arctic belonged to Portugal. They would also create a line making the Arctic a Portuguese mare clausum. However, the treaty made in Barcelona consisted of 1. Portugal can only trade in the region. 2. The Portuguese discovery of the land called Terra do Cabo is the only land they could take, but the Treaty of Tordesillas still remained valid. This means Portugal can still colonize Brazil. 3. In exchange, if Filipe I has a daughter, his daughter has to marry a Castilian noble. Joanna of Castile decided to marry Philip of Cleves, who had a kid with her that would soon become the King of Castile and Aragon. In 1496, Filipe I concluded that the only way to expand freely and gain more trade power in the Mediterranean was to capture the city of Tetuan, a major trade hub for Barbary slavery in Morocco's Rif region. He ordered the governor of Safi and Ceuta to unite to unleash a strike on the city. The governor of Ceuta, Fernão de Meneses, was requested to launch an attack on Tetuan. On October 27, 1497, he prepared a siege of the city. He recruited a huge army of men, mostly of Portuguese origin, but there were also Burgundian nobles and even mercenaries hired by the king. These mercenaries were of English origin. In total, it consisted of 15,300 men. He also had plans to request the governor of Burgundy to join the battle, but chose not to. Meanwhile, the Wattasid king, Abu Abdallah al-Sheikh Muhammad ibn Yahya, upon hearing the news from spies, decided to plan an army to defend Tetuan. The army would consist of around 17,500 men, including numerous converted Iberians, Andalusians, and captives. But most of this army was from the Rif region, one of the most trained warriors Morocco had. The Portuguese king allowed Fernão de Meneses access to use the Burgundian navy. The navy Portugal had in the battle easily outclassed the Wattasids by a long shot. They were even more confident now. The Wattasids were already a declining power. They had difficult access to seaports, which were captured by the Portuguese, thus becoming weaker as time went by. Fernão de Menezes decided to wait until midnight to capture the city when most of them were asleep and in bad shape. He had a plan to launch a surprise attack, but this was already known by the King of Morocco. On the 31st of October, the battle started. Mohammed ibn Yahya decided to wait for the enemy to attack to launch a counterattack. Fernão de Menezes decided to split up the army and form a square formation, 7,500 men each, half. The battle started near Tetuan and Ceuta. Portugal used 21 ships in this battle. 8 of them were Burgundian. The captain of these ships was a Burgundian noble, Johan van der Broek, appointed personally by the King of Portugal. The two armies approached, with the Moroccan army now in a bad position because their navy got destroyed near Ceuta by the 21 Portuguese ships, which were galleons. The Portuguese Burgundian army, mostly Portuguese, had way better artillery than the Moroccans. It consisted of valuable artillery and items from Northern Europe, plus supplies and food from there too. There were also doctors in battle. Fernão de Menezes met the Moroccan army with half of his troops. The other 7,500 were at the back of the square. The Portuguese army would break quite easily through the Ouattara defense. However, this soon stopped when the Moroccans gained 5,000 more manpower, this time from the Marrakesh region and even from regions in Algeria. Fernão de Menezes didn't expect this. However, he decided to bring his other 7,500 into battle, resulting in 15,300 men again. It would be 15,300 versus 20,000, but the Moroccan army would still fail to break through the Portuguese attack and artillery. Nevertheless, they had the navy as well and technology. After a few hours, many shouted "Victoria!" and the Moroccan army retreated to Marrakesh to recover from the decisive victory of the Portuguese. The Moroccan ships were captured as well, and 7,300 Moroccans were captured in battle and were either sold or killed. Fernão de Menezes lost a finger and an eye, but after the battle, he launched a siege on Tetuan, which turned out to be rather easy. It only lasted 3 days. He was surprised when he saw how many captives were there who were Christian. He ordered to release them and allow them to go back to their own countries or start a new life in Portuguese Tetuan. After the battle, Ibn Yahya was pissed. He had to wait days, perhaps months, for the Moroccan army to recover. He requested help from his neighboring country, Tlemcen, but they only gave him a small amount of support. Fernão de Menezes, after the battle, decided to capture a few cities in the Rif region, seeing that the Moroccan army was still recovering. He successfully and easily captured 2 more cities, and again released captives and resettled on it. This victory would be known for years. Battle of Tetuan, 1497. Meanwhile, Nuno de Cabo, regarded as one of the best explorers ever, discovered a new route to Asia when he discovered Terra de Cabo. He thought it was China because there were many people there. Nuno de Cabo had this feeling that he was probably very close to it. So he asked Filipe I to fund his third expedition to find a route to China and explore more lands. He left Portugal and arrived somewhere south of Terra de Cabo. He went down southwards, where he discovered an island-looking shaped amount of land. It turned out it wasn't an island. He sailed more south.